I just tell the truth, and telling the truth is crazy in a world full of lies. If you mix brilliance with bravery, that we can ignite something. Even this conversation alone can ignite the people.
The time is now to express and for people to believe in themselves. The time is now for it to be okay to be great. People in this world shun people for being great, for being a bright color, for standing out. But the time is now to be okay to be the greatest you.
Hey guys, what's up? It's your girl Kelly. We're back once again with another video. If you're new to the channel, please go ahead, hit that subscribe button, guys. If you enjoy true crime, news, and politics, we talk about it all on this channel. I would very much appreciate you guys if you would subscribe. I think you would enjoy, and I thank you. And if you are a returning listener or subscriber, as always, guys, I want to thank you for being a friend, and please interact with the video. It really does help me out if you would just like it, give it a comment, hit the bell, follow me on Twitter, whatever you can do. I thank you and I appreciate you guys, as always. So, we are continuing on our Ynw Melly double homicide coverage. We're going to get into the other parts of this trial that we were not able to cover in part one, and it's going to be very interesting to say the least. Like I said in the first video, this case was one of the more fascinating trials that I've had the pleasure to watch, and not saying that I take pleasure in this. Obviously this is very tragic, but if you enjoy true crime and things of that nature, if you're fascinated in understanding the reason why people do the things that they do, and if you understand the human condition is a very peculiar, shared experience that we are all living, then I think you can appreciate what I'm saying. But I say all that to say that this was a doozy, okay? And we're going to get into some of those moments from the trial. Hopefully I can pack everything into this part 2 video so I don't have to make part 3. But we'll see where it goes, guys, because there's a lot here, and I want to show you guys everything. And then there's going to be another trial, because as I indicated in part 1, this did end in a mistrial. It's already over. I missed it. Again, I'm late to the party, but they're going to have another trial. So if you guys want me to cover that one in real time when it does finally happen, let me know in the comments. I just want to say this happened in 2018, okay? October of 2018. And they're just now determining the mistrial. This man has been locked up for years now, okay? He's been awaiting this trial, awaiting this moment, and now he has to sit down and wait some more. I can't imagine. I really can't. I mean, what a like cliffhanger to be on. My goodness. So, y'all let me know, and let's get into it without further ado. We're going to start with the crime scene photos that were shown in court. So let's get into those.
Facing east in this direction, west, and US 27 would be behind you.
If you don't sit down.
Yes, that is correct. East to west.
So for the purpose of further on pictures, the power lines that we see on the right side, that's the south side of the road?
That is correct.
And there are no power lines on the north side of the road?
That is correct.
Okay. You indicated that there were other investigators on the scene as well?
That is correct.
Is this some of the canine officers you were discussing?
Correct.
So again, looking in an eastern direction, but now focusing on the south side of the road. Can you describe to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury some of the yellow and orange markers and what they're there for?
Yes. So the yellow and orange markers are there to help depict items of evidence that can't necessarily be seen as they are maybe covered by the shrubs or the grass.
So moving on, what direction are you facing in this photograph here?
Facing towards the west.
And so at the end of this street here, what road is this?
On the end there is US 27.
No. The items that we see here, the flags, do they correspond with a photo marker, or are they indicating something else?
So they may be corresponding with the, they have a photo marker next to it, but they depict the actual pieces of evidence.
So going on to this next photo, again with the power lines looking at the south side of the street. How many items did you indicate with photo markers on the south side of the street?
7.
So on the north side of the street, how many items did you indicate with photo markers?
3.
Do they continue in sequential order?
Yes, they do.
1 through 7 is on the south side, 8, 9, and 10 on the north side.
Correct.
Again, showing 8, 9, and 10 on the north. So I'm going to go back to item number 1, back on the south side. Can you describe what we're looking at in this photo here with photo marker number 1?
Yes. The shell casing, cement casing, that's it.
That's that particular item?
That is correct.
Was this item collected?
Yes, it was.
Why do you take multiple photographs from different angles of these items?
Just to get an overall picture of a specific item, and then also accounting for lighting or better visibility of that.
And the glass appearing object underneath the casing, did you collect any of that specific glass right there?
I do not believe it.
Why not?
I think after discussing with the investigators, did not believe that it was in reference or pertaining to the case.
Okay. Did it have any characteristics of auto glass?
Objection beyond the scope
Yes, she knows.
of her expertise.
Like, first establish that she may know something about this.
So, Investigator Curry, part of your training in crime scene is it determining what evidence may be something that would be collect?
Yes, it is.
In terms of the facts of the case, is that something that you're familiar with and you familiarize yourself with to know what types of evidence may exist?
Correct.
For glass and glassware, do you have any training in identifying potential sources of glass or other items that may be evidence you're done?
Yes, I do.
With regards to the glass in the Jeep that was found at the hospital, had you had the opportunity to view that Jeep prior to November 21st of 2018?
Yes, I have.
The glass that was in the Jeep, was that consistent with the glass that is there in this photo marker?
So I just want to explain the defense, in case people didn't catch that. The defense objected to her asking why she didn't collect the glass that was underneath the bullet casing, and did she not think that it was a part of the shattered glass from the Jeep. And so he obviously objected and said, you know, like, this is out of her scope of expertise. So that's why she's asking now this line of questioning about, you know, are you trained in determining what kind of glass has been found at a crime scene, and all of these different questions, which I love this part of the trial footage that you get to see in some of these cases. And this one's so different because you don't see double homicides with a firearm done by friends, supposed friends, you know, with friends like those. Who needs enemies? But I'm just saying, this is a very different sort of case, which I think that's what drew me in once I finally started paying attention. Because you see different, like, domestic violence, murders, you know, you see all these different things where it's between a man and a woman, or a woman and a man, or, you know, even parents killing their children, which is, like, horrific. Things of that nature, you know. You see a variety of handful of different crimes over and over again. This is something you don't see every day. So this was just so interesting to see how this had to be put together. What are the different areas you needed to make sure you were looking at? You know, I'm sure the detectives and even the prosecutor doesn't have a ton of experience handling a case like this. You know, this is not one you get every day, you know. So that makes it challenging, not only for the prosecution, but also the defense, but more so for the prosecution and the state side because they have the burden of proof. So I just wanted to say that.
No, it's not.
Moving on to photo marker number 2. What are we looking at in this particular image?
So the glass fragments are in the glass.
What is that? We can't see.
Going now to photo marker number 2, the next image. Can you describe to ladies and gentlemen how you're taking this photo?
So it is considered a close-up photograph of the glass fragments. It is at 90 degrees directly over the glass that's on the ground.
Moving on to photo marker number 3. What was significant with photo marker number 3?
I would have to, are you able to zoom in? Is there another photograph? Or if I can refer to another photo?
If you can refer to your report, would that help in refreshing your recollection as to
Can
photo
everybody
number
see
3?
that?
Yes.
Okay.
Why would you take that picture? Stupid. It's dumb.
Anything with the same report? Same report? That's
Same report, I have it, thank you.
Okay, nobody see that.
Great. And reviewing that, is your memory now sufficiently refreshed?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so in this photograph here, what are we looking at?
Glass fragments.
And could you kind of circle it on the screen so it's clear to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what we're... Those look different than the last glass fragments
Yes, they
we were
are.
looking at. How are they different so it's clear on the record?
It appears to be a tint or a darker color.
Moving on to photo markers, and so for this is the establishing shot for which 4 photo markers?
4, 5, 6, and 7.
Oh. Going to the close-up of photo marker number 4. What was the important item of evidence in this photo?
Spent casing.
Okay. There's a scale on each photo marker. Why is that?
So we're able to document the size of the specific item in the picture or that we're photographing.
And are all of these items later on collected?
Yes, they are.
Going on to photo marker number 5. I'm going to start with the item to the left here. What is that?
Spent casing.
Okay. Moving over to the right of photo marker number 5. What is that?
Spent casing.
Did you collect both of those 2 spent casings?
That is correct.
And in terms of another view of these 2 casings on number 5, is that what we're looking at here?
That is correct.
Moving on to photo marker number 6. What? I'm going to move into the closer up one for photo marker number 6. I'm going to start to the one to the left. What is that?
Spent casing.
Okay. Is that the same one that was next to photo marker number 5?
Not to my knowledge.
And to the right of photo marker number 6.
It's another spent casing.
Going on to photo marker number 7. What are we looking at in photo marker number 7?
Spent casing.
Were all of these spent casings of the same caliber when you collected them?
Yes, they were.
Again, last photo here of number 7.
Spent casing.
Moving on to...
I do wonder if they found any fingerprints on those casings. I just want to go back and look at this broader picture, though, because what the hell? I'm trying to piece this together in my mind as well as I'm going over this with you guys. I haven't really, you know, this is my first time seeing some of this footage as well, but... Okay, so yes, this side right here. So, it seems like... What the what happened? Okay, so are they also alleging that there's shell casings on this side of the road as well? So that would mean that they would have had to come down this road, okay, park the car just how this car is parked right here with the passenger side on this side, or maybe they drove in and parked it right here along the side here. I don't see why they would do that though, because then they would have to stand in the grass to shoot at the car. It would make more sense for them to park it the way this vehicle's parked and then, you know, shoot at it from over here. But that doesn't make sense. So maybe the car was parked on the other side, because when you're shooting the gun, the casings normally would come out, they would fly out like behind you or like at you. And so if the car was parked over here and they were shooting at it, then that would make sense why the casings were here. But you see how it's like very bizarre? Like, I guess she didn't explain what was on this other side of the road. Let's see if they... Okay, yeah, I guess she's about to explain it here. I jumped the gun. No pun intended, but... this is a weird setup, because if there's shell casings on this side of the street, as well as all the ones they found on this side, I would ask why. Why is that? What happened there?
Of the same caliber when you collected them.
Yes, they were.
Again, last photo here of number 7.
Spent casing.
Moving on to the north side of the street on 8, 9, and 10. What did you collect at photo marker number 8?
Glass fragments.
Glass.
Is that a view of those glass fragments?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Moving on to photo marker number 9. What did you collect at this location?
Glass fragments.
Moving on to photo marker number 10. What did you collect at this location?
Glass fragments.
Okay, so only glass fragments.
We're looking here now at one of the last 2 photos. What is this photo depicting?
What? Are you taking a pee?
Measurement, or a detective utilizing a measurement device.
And what is that measurement device?
It measures distance. It's yard stick or meter stick.
So I'm going to go through now with those items that were...
So, how did the glass get on the other side of the street? What the hell happened? Unless maybe they, like, you know, in the process of turning the car around, some of the glass fell out and fell to the other side of the street. It seems like what happened was they must have driven into that street, just like we were just kind of looking at here. You know, the road, she said this was a dead end, so I'm assuming the dead end is behind this car. They drove in, took this, you know, street right here. And by this point is what the prosecutors are saying, they were already dead in the car. You know, the Melly, or both of them, they're alleging that just Melly was the one who shot him, had already murdered these two guys in the car, which, awkward as fuck. I mean, am I right? Like, what way to ruin the whole night, okay? Now you're driving around with two dead bodies in the car. I mean, what do you do? Do you sit in silence at that point? Like, are you still, you know, blasting the music? Are y'all, like, bobbing your heads, you know, like, acting normal totally with these two dead homies in the car? I just, what a weird thing. So, this is what they're alleging. So, at this point, he had already killed the two other guys in the car. They pull up on this street here. They park the car. You know, they would have had to park the car on the other side of the street. So where the power lines are on the left is where all the shell casings were. So they would have had to be standing right there in order for all those shell casings to be on that side of the street. And then shooting at the car to make it look like a drive-by. You know, they put a little thought into it. They were like, well, we have to be far enough away to where, you know, it looks like we can make it look believable or whatever. So that would explain some of the glass on the other side of the road. And then I guess they would have had to turn around, and, you know, I'm sure they didn't go all the way to the dead end. They probably just flipped a bitch, as they would call it. And some of the glass probably fell out on, you know, either side of the road at that point. And then they dipped up out of there, you know, and came up with this whole story of a drive-by shooting. This is what the prosecution's alleging. And it was at this point that Ynw Melly left out of that situation, had somebody come pick him up, and then Cortland, what a good friend he is, right? I mean, friend of the year, decided he's going to take one for the team and bring these two dead gentlemen to the hospital with this concocted story. I don't know. What do y'all think? Does that sound feasible? Does that sound plausible, believable, whatever? I don't know. I guess I would argue an alternative point of view. Maybe they weren't followed. You know, how can you tell that no one else was at that location? I mean, does cell tower data tell you that, like, I mean, what if people who met them didn't have phones with them? Maybe there were people that were there with them. Maybe they met them. Maybe they caught them slacking out here or whatever. Caught them lacking. What? I don't know. But that doesn't explain the findings from the medical examiner saying that there was gunshots that came from inside the car, and, you know, how they can determinedly say that, you know, without a shadow of a doubt. Your guess is as good as mine, but that's what's being alleged here. And they're also alleging that there were these bullets that were put into the two victims post-mortem, and they can tell this by way of your blood. So after you pass away, your blood's not pumping and flowing through your veins the same way as whenever your heart was pumping it. So that I can see a little bit more. I understand the science a little bit more behind that. I get that, and if they can prove that and know that, then there's just no way it can be any other thing besides what the prosecution's alleging. So that's a really good, strong piece of evidence. But it's a very weird thing, you know. And if you have to go through all these hoops to make it fit, make it make sense, but then some things aren't adding up, that to me is reasonable doubt. But I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me move on from here. We're going to get into some witness testimony, guys. Let's see.
And I said, well, there's no way they have an alibi witness. And they actually had an alibi witness, someone who sat there and said that Ynw Melly was not with his phone, that he was not in the car at the time of the shooting, that they found out about the shooting at the same time as each other.
Oh, Lord.
That's completely risky. I would hope that there's no negative consequences to this gentleman in the future if Ms.
Literally. What does this guy have on people? What kind of hold? I mean, so we're going to get into his testimony as well, but, like, this is their corroborating witness. This is the person who is giving Ynw Melly an alibi, and we're gonna hear it here in a second, and I'll probably just go right to it after this. But, like, so first of all, he got the dude Cortland to go to the hospital with the 2 dead bodies, let him out, even though he was the one who shot and killed these 2 people apparently, and then got somebody, another friend of his, to lie on the stand and give him an alibi for double murder. I mean, what is going on? Does he have a pot of gold at the end of a damn rainbow somewhere that I need to know about? Because how does he have all this pull with these people? So let me see if I can try to find that testimony from the friend.
Jamel,
Yes,
you see him in the courtroom today?
yes,
Would you point him out for us?
okay.
This young man right here?
Yes,
You know him by another name?
Melly.
The one and only witness for Ynw Melly's defense takes the stand. We're looking at the top moments from his testimony. Thanks for joining us here on Law and Crime. I'm Anjanette Levy. Adrian Davis was the only witness called to testify for Jamel Demons, who's also known as Ynw Melly. He knows everyone involved in this case, including the victims, Christopher Thomas Jr. and Anthony Williams, who were known as Juvie and
Girl,
Sack
close your
Chaser.
mouth.
He also
What the
knows
fuck?
Melly's co-defendant, Cortland
Sack Chaser.
Ynw Bortland Henry. Specifically, Adrian Davis says he has known Melly since they were in the 6th grade.
At any time during school, did any of you have any problems with each other?
No, not at all.
Would you label yourself good friends, associates, close friends, or what?
Good friends, close friends, best friends.
He also talked about a nickname they had for Melly.
Did Melly also have another name besides Melly and Jamel?
Yeah.
What
So, we only call them that, those crazy legs,
Crazy Legs.
Yeah.
And why was he called Crazy Legs?
because he liked to dance.
And that's why you got that name.
Yeah.
Was Melly
Crazy legs.
a big kid, normal sized kid when you guys were in school?
Small.
Did there come a time that Melly, and when I'm referring to Melly, I'm referring to this young man, Jamel.
Can we start calling him Crazy Legs from this point on? I would like to make a motion with the judge to refer to Ynw Melly as Crazy Legs from this point on. And if everyone can get on board with that, I would appreciate it.
Yes.
On the night of October 25th,
Crazy
2018,
legs.
Davis was at the recording studio with Melly, Juvie, Sack, and Bortland, and also with the people who
Sack.
got into the red Mitsubishi that night.
And what was the
Zach.
purpose of going to the studio?
Going too
Make
soon.
music.
Did anyone fall asleep at the studio?
Yes.
Who?
We all did.
That was from the day of smoking weed and having a few drinks.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Did any arguments occur between any of you at the studio?
No, not at all.
After 3 a.m. on October 26th, hours later, they all left in separate vehicles. Davis was in the red Mitsubishi with Dontavius Withers and Travion Glass, who had testified earlier. Also in that vehicle, Jacoby Mills.
Did you leave the studio earlier than what was scheduled?
Yeah, I believe so. So we were all in there asleep.
Will you tell the jury who got into the red Mitsubishi?
Me, Jacoby, Trayvon, and Tate, Dontavius.
You know who got into the Jeep?
Cortland, Jamel, Sack, and Judy.
Where were you going? Did anyone fall asleep in your car?
Yeah, we about all did except for the driver.
Did there
Very
come
sure.
a time that you were woken up before you got to the house?
Yes.
What happened?
We pulled over, and that's when Melly got in the car with us.
Oh, really, girl?
You know where you pulled over?
And I don't really remember.
So, right, this is fast. This is interesting right here. This is definitely a risky move. Okay, so if in fact he's lying, I mean he's putting himself in a horribly compromised position right here. And he better pray that none of those other people, he was in that red car with 3 other individuals, one of which also testified during this trial, which we'll also see that. I mean, their testimony seemed to be very different, okay? And this guy here seems to be a little bit more composed. The other guy seemed to be testifying not under duress, but under, he seemed more agitated. and like, I guess a little bit compromised in his testimony, in the fact that like it did not seem as genuine. This guy's coming across as being genuine, but I just don't know if I buy it, because it's this man's word against everything else that's been put forward by the state. And why don't any of the other people in the red car want to come forward and give their side of the story and what happened? Probably because it's not all going to add up. So what kind of pressure has been put on these people? What kind of, money or whatever has been driving this force to cover for Crazy Legs over there? What is really going on? It's a brain buster.
Were you woken up?
Yeah,
Why?
but because I was getting pushed over a little bit.
The testimony differs from that of Travion
Okay,
Glass,
here we
who
go.
testified they were all going back to Melly's house, and when they arrived, the Jeep carrying Melly, Juvie, Sack, and Bortland was no longer traveling with them.
Were you woken up?
Yeah, but
Why?
because I was getting pushed over a little bit.
Okay. And are you 100% sure that this young man got into the red Mitsubishi?
Yes.
Oh,
What happened to the Jeep?
I think they just kept going.
Did he have to unlock the door?
Yes.
Do you know who has the keys to Melly's house on October 26th in the early morning hours?
Jamel and Borton. They only one who had keys to the house.
Did you have a key to the house?
No.
Did Williams have a key to the house?
No.
Did Christopher Thomas have a key to the house?
No.
Did Trevon Glass have a key to the house?
No.
Did Jacoby Mills have a key to the house?
No.
And how about Dontavius Williams? Did he have a key?
No.
Okay. So the only two people you know who had a key to the house was this young man
Yes.
and Cortland Henry.
Yes.
Did you see this young man unlock the door of the house?
Yes.
Who was the last person to get out of the red Mitsubishi to go inside the house?
Trayvon, he was in the car still asleep.
He was in the car.
oh my God. So we're gonna watch Trayvon's testimony right after this, guys, because I didn't see. I saw Trayvon's testimony. I had not seen the full extent of this guy's testimony right here. Y'all, I mean, the more I see from this case, the more it really is, I mean, mind-blowing. I can't even fathom. I really can't, because there's two guys testifying in this trial saying pretty different stories, and they're all kind of throwing each other under the bus. I don't know if it's like this mentality of like, if we all point a finger at each other, then they can't really determine who it is, so maybe we'll all get off. I don't know. It might just be crazy enough to work. But I have a feeling that if the prosecution doesn't get their way and get a conviction on this case, they're going to end up coming after this man if they can prove that he perjured himself up here on this stand. And if they can prove that Melly was never in that red car without a shadow of a doubt, he's fucked.
Sleep when you got to his house?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Davis testified that Melly was with them when they arrived at Melly's house in that red.
I want to know what the hell Melly's got. Sir, what kind of voodoo is it? It's got to be all that Satan worshiping that was going on in that video. That's the only explanation. How do you have this much power over everyone, Crazy Legs?
Mitsubishi. Then he was asked about when he found out that Juvie and Sack were dead.
When you heard that, did you see Melly in the house?
Okay,
Yes.
so let's go to Trayvon. So he just answered whenever they got the news that there was that drive-by shooting, they're still going with this, that he was with Melly at the house, okay, which is totally contradictory of the text messages that we've already looked at, right, that are alleging somebody who was using that phone asked to be picked up at the location of the shooting. So who was that? Who was that? Who was that? Interesting. So let's look at Trayvon. Okay. Hang on a second. This is getting good. I'm like, listen, there might be a part 3. I don't know. I don't know what's going on.
One of the things that's very interesting about the YNW Melly trial is the fact that there are witnesses who simply do not want to testify. Many of them were either with Melly, Bortland, and the victims that night. Prosecutors said they've tried to track them down and even issued subpoenas, but many simply won't cooperate. It's not unusual in a case like this.
I mean, how does that work, though? How does that work? How did you compel others, but not all, to testify? I mean, I just don't... I mean, if you issue subpoenas and they don't testify and they don't comply, don't they go to jail? Like, well, what is that? How does that work?
Yes, people are scared of being labeled a snitch. But last week, when the trial was in recess, one witness who was at the recording studio that night actually appeared for a deposition, fearing he would be arrested if he didn't. Travion Glass was at the recording studio and got into a red car at the same time Melly, Bortland, Judy, and Sack.
He is... I told you, there were some weird looking motherfuckers. He's giving me crocodile, serpent, and like Komodo dragon had a baby, and this motherfucker came out because wow, okay.
Left in a gray SUV.
And was everybody in that red car headed to Melly's house?
To the best of my knowledge.
Okay. And what about the Jeep?
He was such... Oh my god, he was like... I mean, you could just tell. Like, this one, I said, was... It seemed like he was testifying under duress. Because he was so uncooperative and so just flippant. And it seemed like he wanted to be anywhere else in the world but on that witness stand during this trial. But, sir, you went and gave a deposition. And all these other people were seeing from this red car... besides Melly's best friend, who we just saw testify, there's two other people in the red car that can either corroborate either one of these guys' story, but they're nowhere to be found. Bizarre.
Where was your understanding that that Jeep was headed? The gray Jeep?
Same spot.
So both cars left the studio with the intention of heading to what you identify as Melly's house?
Correct.
But the state says that didn't happen. At one point along the ride, the Jeep went in another direction. The red car arrived at the gate at Melly's complex, but the gray Jeep didn't travel with them. Travion Glass said he went to sleep and was awakened to the news that Juvie and Sack were dead. He went to the hospital and then to Fredo Bangs' house. Bangs picked up Melly after the homicides.
And who was at Fredo's house when you first got there?
Everybody that wasn't at the house.
Okay, and it's because I don't know who everybody was or is. Can you please specify?
The way he was hiding behind this monitor sent me. Also, I just want to say, sir, if you didn't want to testify, if you were going to be this uncooperative and this hostile, why did you even come forward? Like, she asked him a question. Who was at Fredo's house whenever you got there? Everybody who wasn't at the other house. Okay, girl. Okay, yeah, because that makes sense, and I just know intrinsically what you're saying. What a retard.
Kobe, Melly. Among people I can remember.
Okay. Was that the first time you saw Melly after you guys left the studio?
Yeah.
Was Melly wearing the same clothes or different clothes than when you saw him at the studio?
It was a new day. Nah, he wasn't.
Nah, he wasn't. You guys
wasn't wearing the same clothes.
Okay. Do you recall what he was wearing?
Just had on some shorts.
Now, this is a big moment for the state. Travion Glass is basically saying that Melly was wearing different clothes than the clothes he had on at the recording studio. So sometime that night, he changed.
You never seen Melly with a gun?
Objection, Your Honor.
Stay.
Move to strike.
Here's this your last question.
Have you ever seen Melly with a gun?
Objection, Your Honor.
I sustain the objection.
Have you ever seen a track with a gun?
Possibly. Yes. Maybe. Maybe so.
Hello.
Okay.
Which one is it?
You don't know of any friction between Melly and Anthony Davis at any time, Anthony Williams at any time?
Not that I know of.
And you don't know of any friction between Melly and Christopher Thomas at any time?
Not that I know of.
I feel like he's looking right at me. I don't like it. I'm uncomfortable.
And you don't know of any friction that occurred at the studio that night that would cause anybody to get murdered?
He looks like Black Voldemort.
Same.
You didn't see any friction at the studio that night of any magnitude?
I did.
You did?
I didn't.
Okay, you did.
Well, speak up. You're
With
rumbling.
respect to your daily marijuana regimen, did you
Hello?
smoke before you came here today?
I did not.
I have nothing. Thank you.
I should have.
Hello. Hello? What? People, was that funny? Was that funny? The judge is not gonna, say, you know, make a statement. Let's not hear anything from the audience, okay? You guys, I don't want to hear audible giggles after this witness, this hostile witness, makes a joke about his marijuana use. You know, a little bit out of the line there. A little bit, yeah. Let's bang the gavel. No, we just hear, you know, a stand-up routine. Apparently, is what we got going on.
Smoke a lot of marijuana, right?
Possibly.
Well, you smoke it anytime you get a chance, I think is how you phrase it.
It's your answer. Yeah.
That was your answer.
I smoke when I smoke.
You smoke when you smoke?
Yeah.
And when's that?
When I smoke.
Wow.
And when would that be?
When I smoke.
How many times a day?
Objection to ask and answer.
What a scholar.
Twice. 3 times, maybe.
Okay. And
This is so weird.
on the night before you got to the studio, on the day in question, you had smoked at least 2 joints, right?
2 joints.
Sure, yes.
That's what you said, right?
I don't recall.
Okay. And when you got to the studio, you were smoking, correct?
Possibly.
Oh my god.
Were you or weren't you?
It was 5 years ago.
You forget?
I don't recall.
Okay. And you were drinking Hennessy, I believe? Or do you not recall that either?
It's possible.
Possible. But you don't recall?
I don't.
Okay. So you don't recall much from that night, do you?
Clear.
Right? Fair?
Right.
Oh my god. Then why come forward?
And when you got in the red vehicle and left, you went to sleep in the vehicle when you left the studio. Right?
Yeah.
And you didn't wake up until you got to the guard gate.
I woke up when we came to a stop.
You did not wake up until you got to the guard gate. Am I right or wrong?
I woke up when we came to a stop.
Okay,
Which was at the guard gate, yes.
Okay.
So that's interesting. That, you know, and he's got this weird smirk that's still scaring the fuck out of me. I don't understand why he's looking into the camera. It didn't seem like the last witness was doing that. It seems like the defense attorney's over here, but I just don't know. Sir, you seem possessed by the devil too. But he just said, you know, with this weird ass smirk and this attitude that he's got on the stand, that he woke up whenever they came to a stop. Well, that directly contradicts the last witness, Melly's best friend, his whole testimony, because he's saying that there was a stop that happened before they got to the gardens, and that's the point that the defense attorney is trying to drive home, is that if, you know, he's trying to basically lead the witness to say, you know, like, you didn't wake up till you got to the gardens, right? And then this man's not agreeing with that. He's not saying, yes, that's correct. He's saying, in a roundabout way, you know, he's doing some like side or, you know, backhanded snitching right here, saying, I woke up when we came to a stop. So if that is the case, then you must have woken up as Melly was getting into the car while y'all were pulled over on the side of the road. Is that what you're trying to say? Because you are not being very clear, and I would say that you probably won't clear that up, even if he's asked that question on redirect or whatever. But you can kind of tell from the way that he's putting on this little attitude, doing this little, coy word salad that he's doing, that he's not saying all that he wants to say, and he's not being truthful in his testimony. And it's probably because either him or the other guy is going to be a liar. Y'all are probably both liars in all actuality. And if you are not the liar, then you're a snitch. So it kind of doesn't work out for you either way, right? And I have no problem with snitches. Like, honestly, people need to, like, embrace that. Okay, I'm sorry, like, where did we get it in our minds? And I don't mean we as in, like, everybody. I mean, like, a certain subset of people got it in their minds that you're a snitch if you help the police to solve a murder by disclosing information that you know about that crime. I'm sorry, it's one thing to snitch on somebody for, like, drugs, low-level drug crimes, or whatever, but if you have serious crimes like murder or anything having to do with children, you go ahead and snitch that shit out. Like, let's get these people off of the street, okay? Like, if you're killing people or hurting kids, you need to go to jail. I'm sorry, but, like, why are we covering for these people? Why is there this whole stigma and this, like, dark cloud over anyone who dares to do the right thing and, God forbid, put a dangerous criminal behind bars? I don't know. Y'all let me know. And of course, the defense is not going to push him on this point. They're not going to say, what do you mean when you came to stop? Because they just want to leave it up in the air and say, well, yeah. Basically, they're trying to lead the jury into their point of view, in that, the car came to a stop at the gardens. Then, and that's where he fell. He was asleep all the way until they got to that point. But the other stop that they made to pick up Melly, according to the other witness, he probably slept through that one, right? So he's just being coy for no reason.
For the record, what is Frito wearing in the photograph?
Shirt. White shirt.
Okay. So after the hospital, you went to Frito's house.
To the best of my knowledge.
Okay. And what were you doing at the house?
Still grieving.
Okay. Who took you to the hospital?
The cameraman.
Okay, do you recall his name?
Drew.
Right. And do you recall who took you from the hospital to Frito's house?
Same person.
All right. And before you left for the hospital, or actually, who went to the hospital with you?
Just Drew.
Okay. Who was at the house, Melly's house, before you left for the hospital?
Same people that when we got there.
Okay. And same people being the 4 people that entered the Mitsubishi?
Yes.
Okay. So you're at Frito's house. You mentioned, and I forgot exactly where you were in the house. Did you say where you were?
Drew was wrong.
Oh, no, not Melly's house. Frito's house. Where were you in Frito's house?
Outside.
Okay. And who was at Frito's house when you first got there?
Everybody that was in the house.
Okay. And because I don't know who everybody was or is, can you please specify?
Kobe, Melly. The only people I can remember.
Okay. Was that the first time you saw Melly after you guys left the studio?
Yeah.
Was Melly wearing the same clothes or different clothes than when you saw him at the studio?
It was a new day. Nah, he wasn't.
No, he wasn't. You guys
wasn't wearing the same clothes.
Okay. Do you recall what he was wearing?
Just had on some shorts.
Okay. And how long did you stay at Frito Bay's house?
I don't know.
Right. Minutes, hours, days?
Could be minutes, could be hours.
Okay. So not days?
Not even a day.
Okay. And so when you got to Frito's house, was it light or dark outside?
Light.
And you previously said yourself and Melly and someone else was at Frito's house. Was Frito there as well?
I think I did see him. I don't remember.
Okay. What happens while you're there? Like you're there, you're outside, what happens?
Grieving.
Okay. And you're grieving, are you grieving alone?
Yes.
Are you at the house at any point in time? Do more people come to the house or do people leave the house?
If they did come, I don't know. I was in the back.
Okay.
I was back in the grieving.
At any point in time, did Melly leave Frito's house?
It came to a point when I was there by myself.
All right. So you were there by yourself. So the people that you previously said were there were no longer there, correct?
Right.
And so do you know where they went during that time?
I don't.
All right. And we're still talking about October 26th of 2018, correct?
Yes.
And this would be shortly after the hospital?
Yes.
All right. At some point, does Melly come back to Frito's house?
Around this time, still grieving and get a little, I don't know, yeah, I guess.
Yeah, I guess Melly comes back.
Yeah, I guess they come back.
Right.
I don't know, not sure.
Okay. And at some point, does Melly leave again, a second time?
I don't remember anything farther after that.
All right.
He grieving. That was the last thing I remember is he grieving. I ain't been different.
All right. So before you end up in Griffin, if I were to show you a statement, would that refresh your recollection as to Melly leaving and coming back a second time?
I suppose.
So he just totally blows apart the other witness's testimony. I mean, that to me is explosive. That to me is very interesting, because I don't know if they got some sort of arrangement going on with each other. I don't understand. This man's obviously going to be X'd out of the entire gang and anything that they had going on, because he's absolutely contradicting the other guy's witness testimony that said Melly at some point got into that red car. She keeps asking him over and over again. And this prosecutor, I don't know, like, she did an okay job, but there was many points in this trial where I was like, can you be more forceful than this? Like, what's going on? She's got all these hostile witnesses up here who don't want to give proper and truthful testimony, and she doesn't want to press that issue at all or anything of that nature, which I think is so bizarre. But either way, their testimonies are completely different, and this man obviously knows a lot more than he's letting on, and you can tell there's something wrong underneath the surface. There's something happening inside of him that is at war with itself. And I don't know. That's a huge bombshell in this case. Those two guys having supposedly been in the same car with two different stories. Somebody's lying. Who do y'all think it is?
Did you tell the prosecutor, when you spoke to the prosecutor, were you under oath?
Yes.
Sworn to tell the truth?
Yes.
Stay.
Are you 100% sure that Melly got into the red Mitsubishi to go home?
Yes.
Are you 100% sure that this young man learned of the shooting of his
fucking
friends at the exact same time you learned of it?
Yes.
And that was at the house?
Yes.
Are you 100% sure that when people were getting on the phone, that this young man was looking for his phone to call people?
Yes.
So now we're going to watch a little bit of the cross on this guy to see how she's going to attack this story, and we'll see how it all ends up working itself out.
Yes, Your Honor.
You ready to make your seat?
Yeah. Mr. Davis, you said you're 100% sure that Mr. Dennis found out at the same time you did?
Yes.
No questions about that?
No.
You're sure he was at that house?
Yes.
And you were upstairs?
Yes, ma'am.
He was downstairs?
Yes.
But you're sure he was there? You could see him?
Mm-hmm.
Is that yes?
Yes.
And you are 100% sure his phone was missing?
Yes.
Where in the statement on May 5th did you ever say that?
Objection.
Suggestion.
It was never asked.
Thank you. Counsel, so I guess the objection is improper impeachment, so rephrase your question.
So, you met with me on May 5th, 2022, you remember that?
Yes.
And you remember sitting down, you were present? That's a yes?
Yes.
Your two attorneys were present that you brought? That's a yes?
Yes.
And I asked you questions for quite a number of hours. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Okay. And do you remember being asked if you had met with anyone else with regards to this case?
Yes.
Okay. And do you remember being asked if you had met prior to speaking with me with the attorney sitting over to my left?
Yes.
Okay.
I didn't know who they were, and my lawyers told you that.
Okay.
I didn't know their names.
But you remember meeting with them?
Yeah.
Okay. And do you remember asking and being asked a question about what you talked about with them?
Yes.
Did you remember what you told them?
No.
Do you remember what you told them now?
Yes.
So are you telling this jury that when you were speaking with me, you forgot?
As in, what I'm telling them now, as of right now, yes.
So on the phone, on that, do you remember Mr. Dennings having a passcode on his cell phone that night?
I don't think so.
You don't think so? And in terms of, would you be surprised to find that there was one on that cell phone?
No.
Did you know the passcode?
I don't think so. I don't even remember if we had one. We all use this phone sometimes. We all use each other's phones.
So you would use his cell phone? Why?
Talk to females.
You pretend he had to get women, but you couldn't get on your own?
Objection.
Why would you use his phone then?
Hello?
It's over. Go ahead. Answer your question. Ask me this question.
So, with regards to your living situation there, you were not paying any rent, right?
On her.
And nobody was paying any rent in that house except for the defendant.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
So, do you remember that evening driving to the studio?
Yes.
Do you remember who was in which car?
On the way there, yes.
Do you remember who was on each car on the way back?
Yes.
Okay. Are there any threats that were made to anyone that night?
No, ma'am.
Did anyone have any other conversations or discussions about threats from outside parties?
No, ma'am.
Is anyone worried about their safety?
No, ma'am. But Melly's a rapper, you know, he's always going to be a target. I said he's a rapper, so he's always going to be a target.
Okay. And do you remember stopping on the side of the road?
Yes.
Where did you stop?
I don't remember. It's like flashes and blinks, drinking and smoking, so I just know we stopped.
You know you stopped.
Yeah.
And do you remember if that was on a highway?
Not at all.
Okay. Do you remember if it was on a divided 4-lane road?
No, ma'am.
Do you remember if you guys were using GPS to get home?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Do you remember if you knew the route home?
No.
Okay. Do you remember what phone number you had back then?
No, ma'am.
You don't remember your phone number?
5 years ago, so.
Okay. Do you remember if you were awake or asleep?
I just told you. We were asleep.
You were asleep.
Yeah.
And you said you were intoxicated?
You didn't answer out loud.
Yes.
Do you know why the car stopped?
No.
Do you have any conversations or messages with the defendant?
No, ma'am.
Do you have a phone call with him?
No, ma'am.
When you stopped, was the Great Jeep in front of the Fred Mitsubishi?
Yeah, I believe so.
Have you ever answered that question differently?
I don't think so.
If I were to show you your statement from May 5th of 2022, would that help you in answering if you'd ever said something different than what you just testified in?
May 5th, 2022. Was that the first and only time he gave a statement? Because that's, I mean, it's insane to me. And they really have no one to blame for themselves if they end up not bringing a conviction in these charges. I mean, because what on earth good does it do anyone to have a case tried 5 years after a crime is committed? I mean, that is absolutely insane to me. How does it take that long? I do not understand that.
Yeah, probably.
Okay, approaching with page 33 of the statement, counsel. Will you just read silently to yourself? Okay.
One line?
Lines 18 through 20.
Yeah. I basically told you I don't remember.
Okay, so now your answer is I don't remember if the Jeep was in front or the Mitsubishi was in front.
If we watched the video, they put off first, so how they knew it was in front of us.
Oh, so you watched the video.
You showed it to me.
In terms of the trial, you've been watching that online?
No, ma'am.
Okay. On May 5th, 2022, remember that statement?
Mm-hmm.
At that point, did you say, I don't know where he went? I assume this room.
I don't know.
You don't. But you made your statement. I'll refresh your recollection on that.
Yes.
Okay. Page 34, lines 12 and 13, counsel.
Yeah.
Okay. So did you previously give a different statement that you didn't know where he went and you were assuming he went to this room?
Yeah. When did you?
So with regards to the car, you're saying that you got pushed over when somebody got in the car?
Yeah.
Okay. And with regards to being pushed over, did you wake up when that happened?
Like it was flashes. Like I guess you could say I woke up.
Okay. And did they move you over or climb over you?
I don't remember.
Have you ever made a statement different than that?
I don't know. I can't remember.
Okay. Again, page 33. Question was asked: did they climb over to get you to the middle, over you to get to the middle of the back seat? Your answer was, I think I was at the window, so no. I think they might have climbed over.
Okay.
So, is it your testimony that somebody climbed over you, or you pushed over,
I mean.
or that you don't remember?
Yeah, I don't really remember.
You don't really remember.
Yeah.
Okay. And in terms of the phone, right? Did you see anyone get into that gray Jeep?
No.
You remember going to Frito Bank's house?
Yes.
Okay. And you remember seeing the defendant there? Is that a yes?
Yeah, he was there with us.
And you remember leaving there afterwards?
Yes.
And you remember going back to the defendant's house?
Yes.
Okay. And you remember at that point that when you went back to the defendant's house, it was you, Travion Glass, or Fetty, and Jacoby Moss. That's it?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. And you said that you were in and out of sleep and intoxicated.
Yes.
And in terms of you remember that Travion was the last person to get out of the car?
Yeah, I believe so, yes.
You believe so, or you remember? Which is it?
Yes.
And you know, and you mentioned about Mr. Demons looking for his phone, right?
Yes.
So of course he used your phone to call it and try and find it, right?
I don't remember.
You don't remember how he was trying to find his phone?
Just in the house looking for it, just like you would do if you lost yours.
So he didn't, try and do Find My iPhone or anything like that. Of course he used yours to do that, right?
I don't remember.
Of course he used something like, an Apple iWatch and set it up.
Objection, there's no testimony that he had
I
it.
don't remember.
Excuse me.
Okay.
One at a time. You asked the question. Objection noted. Overruled.
So of course he did all that. He went on Find My iPhone and he's looking for it.
I don't know. I don't remember.
You don't remember. Okay. And of course he is using everybody else's phone to try and find it.
I don't know.
You don't remember. Okay. But conveniently the phone's missing that moment.
Objection to the form.
Sustained.
Yes.
I sustain the objection.
So with regards to your conversation, you had texted back and forth with the defendant prior to this event occurring, right?
Yes.
And he had sent you a picture of his driver's license from that phone number.
Yes.
Okay. So you knew Mr. Demons, the defendant Melly, to use that cell phone 772-713-9807.
I don't know what the numbers is.
So she's basically trying to impeach him on the stand, which she's doing a pretty good job of. What do y'all think, guys? Is he lying? Is he a dirty little liar whore? Or do you think the other Komodo dragon looking motherfucker is the liar? I mean, they're both, I think, arguably liars in their own right. Either way, there's a cover-up going on here, is what it seems like. Because I just don't think, you go through all of this if it really was just this random drive-by shooting, or if even enemies had snuck up on you guys, they caught y'all slacking and killed 2 of your friends. I don't see the point of doing this whole song and dance, this cover-up act is what it's seeming like. Why would you cover up for enemies? Why would you cover up for people who killed your friends? I don't know. It's the dynamics of this need to be studied in sociology and psychology courses, because I would honestly love to know how you get to a point where these people have it seems like there's no self-preservation at all in regards to themselves. They're just, you're gonna go down for this crazy. We're going down for crazy legs. I mean, what? Hello. Okay. So, anyways, it's gonna have to be a part 3, guys. I'm sorry. I did not mean for this to get. It's laughable now because I was really trying to fit this all into one video. Yeah. So that did not happen. But we're gonna do a part 3. It's probably gonna be shorter than this one, where we'll look at some of the police officer testimony, the testimony from the mothers, like YNW's mother, and then the mother of Mariah, who was the girlfriend of Ynw Melly, and a few other things, and then we'll look at the defense's closing argument in the next video. So I just don't want to, I don't want to have to rush or leave anything out, because this is, again, if you guys are as interested and as befuddled by this case as I am, then you're going to want to see all of the nitty-gritty behind this very complex and this different, very different case, in which there's funny business. All we know is there's funny business, okay? We don't really know exactly what happened yet, but one could argue that there's a conspiracy happening. And will they be able to prove that conspiracy? Obviously they didn't, because we have a mistrial, and now they're going to have to do it all over again. So let me know what y'all think at this point, now that we've seen these two guys who both were in the red car, you know, part of the CCTV footage, getting into the red car from the studio, and now have two very different stories as to who was also in that car with them and at what point, and in regards to Melly being there or not being there, and how is it that they have such conflicting statements. So y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments. Please do that and like the video if you guys liked it. Let me know your feedback, and part 3 will be coming very, very soon. I'm sorry, this was I didn't expect this to be, again, a 3-part series, but it's a good one, guys. This is really, like I said, you don't see trials of this nature every day, and I would probably argue we're probably not going to see one like it anytime soon in the future either, but maybe we will. I mean, Generation Z is out of control. They are just something different, okay? They're different. So maybe we will, maybe we won't. Either way, there's a lot to be analyzed in this trial. There's a lot to be studied. I mean, all of these people need to be studied on multiple different levels and for multiple different reasons, but I want to know your thoughts. So please like the video, guys, and subscribe to the channel. That would be epic. I would love it. I would really appreciate it, guys, and I thank you in advance. So until next time, guys, I will see y'all later, and please be safe out there. Bye.
I just tell the truth, and telling the truth is crazy in a world full of lies. If you mix brilliance with bravery, that we can ignite something. Even this conversation alone can ignite the people.
The time is now to express and for people to believe in themselves. The time is now for it to be okay to be great. People in this world shun people for being great, for being a bright color, for standing out. But the time is now to be okay to be the greatest you.